Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final lesson of the War Unit. We are going to be starting the War on Terror, which begins with the events of September 11th. So, let's look at what. So, on September 11th, 2001, 19 militants connected with Al Qaeda hijacked four planes to attack U.S. targets. Two planes hit the World Trade Center Twin Towers in New York City. One plane hit the Pentagon, and one plane crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, because the passengers took the plane down to save the target. Approximately 3,000 people were killed. U.S. strategy to fight terrorism changed immediately. At this time, George W. Bush was president. And here you have the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and the Pennsylvania field. So, the events. First, we have the World Trade Center Twin Towers in New York City. Tuesday morning at 8:45 a.m., an American Airlines Boeing 767 hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. It hit about the 80th floor, which is about here. People were trapped on the hundreds of floors above. So, all of these floors here, people could not escape. Evacuations were underway when a second plane, United Airlines Flight 175, hit the South Tower 18 minutes later. This was televised for the whole world to watch, and here it is here. So, America was being attacked. Additionally, at the Pentagon building outside of Washington, D.C., and just across the river from the D.C., American Airlines Flight 77 hit the Pentagon, the headquarters for the Department of Defense, at 9:45. 125 people were killed in the Pentagon, and 64 people were killed on board. So here you have a illustration of what they believe it looked like when the plane hit the Pentagon. Um, there's very little video evidence of that plane hitting, just one short clip of a closed circuit television, which does not have a good picture of it. So we're back to the towers. The South Tower in New York collapses, and dust and smoke cover the city. So here you can see the um, South Tower beginning to collapse. About 30 minutes later, the North Tower collapses as well. Then we have Flight 93. United Flight 93 left New Jersey, and due to a delay, the passengers knew about the other attacks from cell phones. The passengers realized that they were headed for another target and planned to stop the attack. Passengers Thomas Burnett Jr., Todd Beamer, and Sandy Bradshaw spoke to loved ones about their plans to take back the plane. They attacked the cockpit and caused the plane to crash in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10:10. Here's a picture of what it looked like just after the crash. There were 44 people on board that were killed. No one knows the final target, but people believe the White House, the U.S. Capitol, Camp David, and several nuclear power plants were all possible targets, but we can't be too sure. So, who were the hijackers? Well, they were Islamic fundamental terrorists from Saudi Arabia and a few other Arab nations. The attack was funded by Osama bin Laden, a Saudi, and his Al Qaeda terrorist group. The attack was to retaliate against the U.S. for the support of Israel, the Gulf War, and interference in the affairs of the Middle East. Some of the participants in the attack have been hiding in plain sight in the U.S., and even learned how to fly at American commercial flight schools. They used box cutters and knives to take control of four aircrafts leaving from the East Coast to California. They were full of fuel for a flight across the United States. They then turned these flights into missiles of mass destruction. So, the loss from the 9/11 attacks. Immediately, 2,996 people were killed. Several more will die later, but that day, this is the amount that died. 78 different countries lost citizens in the attacks on New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. In New York City at the World Trade Center, 2,763 people died, whereas at the Pentagon, 189 people died. And in Pennsylvania, it was only the people on the planes. So, response to the attacks. President George Bush was reading at a school in Florida when he received the news. He returned to D.C. about 5 minutes after he got the news and immediately gave the following speech. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. So, Operation Enduring Freedom, October 7th, 2001. President George Bush said, "We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them. Harbor means who protect." So, this was led by the United States. It was to get rid of the Taliban regime from Afghanistan. It worked to capture and stop Osama bin Laden's network. The Taliban was removed from Afghanistan within 2 months. Then forces focused on Taliban influence in Pakistan. But Osama bin Laden was not captured until May 2nd, 2011, almost 10 years later. President Barack Obama announced troop withdrawal from Afghanistan in the June of 2011, but the United States did not finally completely leave Afghanistan until last year. The Department of Homeland Security. So, the Department of Homeland Security was created in 2002 with the Homeland Security Act. The presidential cabinet that worked to stop terrorist attacks worked on border security, customs and immigration, and disaster relief. So it took jobs from several different departments all over the executive branch and brought it all under a brand new department. Next, we have the 9/11 Commission. This was responsible for investigating the events before September 11th. Report was released on July 22nd, 2004, naming Khalid Sheikh Mohammed the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks. Anti-terrorism laws were passed all around the world. And then Obama led a mission by the SEAL Team 6 in May 2011 to have Osama bin Laden killed. Next, let's look at the economic impact. Well, the economic impact of the attacks were quite large. It was $10 billion in infrastructure damages, and Wall Street was closed. The stock market took a hit. You can see here all of the different industry loss estimates from business interruption, property, liability, World Trade Center, aviation, workman's comp, life insurance, event cancellation, and aviation hull. The total insured losses came out to $39.5 billion. That's a lot of money that was lost. Okay, and then we have the 9/11 anniversary and memorial. On December 18th, 2001, Congress approved naming September 11th Patriot Day. Countries all around the world have recognized the loss of the U.S. on September 11th. Starting in 2002, the Tribute in Life in New York City was created. Its two bright columns of light were shot up into the sky once a year on September 11th from where the Twin Towers are. And we'll see a picture of that on the next slide. It's only once a year now because, unfortunately, the lights cause birds to crash and die. So we tried to minimize that by doing it once a year. One World Trade Center was opened in 2014 on the World Trade Center site. Additionally, a brand new train station was built right next to the World Trade Center site. The National September 11th Memorial and Museum was founded in New York City. Again, we'll see pictures in the next slide. There's a Pentagon Memorial in Virginia, and there's a Flight 93 National Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So let's go to the next slide and take a look. So here we have the Oculus, which is the train station for World Trade Center. These are the footprints of the Twin Towers. They've turned them into water pools. And as mentioned before, here are the two light installations. As you can see, those are very bright lights. So because the damage to birds, we only do it once a year. And here is One World Trade Center. Very beautiful building, which you can see if you go visit the World Trade Center, which is very close to the ferry for the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. Well, that is all for today's lesson. I will see you in the next lesson. Have a great